Because we're doing a video tonight. We'll have a nice video of the show and Gary John. Very good. So, is Ellen coming? Ellen has to work tonight, but she will be able
Oh, in Stockholm?
very interested. They're working with a lot of works that come off science theoretically, not mechanistically wise, but just like we do.
You know who she spoke to? No, in Sweden. Sorry.
Do you guys know Mark? This is Dietrich von Franklin's office. You guys much know.
No, I just want to
Yeah, move, oh, like just stroll on down.
I'll even pause.
Okay. Great. Okay, stay there, because I want to pull back. Do you mind being used as, what do you call it? What are extras called? Background?
Background.
Background.
Yeah, she does. I see what she's doing.
Yes, very nice. This wonderful material.
Because I'm color coordinator.
She was good in front of the sky.
Pyramid is quite impressive, isn't it?
Yeah, the pyramid is.
Antique look.
Yeah, it does.
Well, yes, because I can hold my head right, which is I'm sure what you want to do. That's what we all
All right. I would like to Jack, come here. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming to Jack Ops round number 2. The first was the opening of this exhibition, which was quite successful with magnificent dance or magnificent performance. And tonight it's intermediary artistry again. Jack will give an introduction to her work, which hopefully, and I'm sure, will start historically with her beginnings, how she got to all of this. And because when you enter this gallery, it's a little bit upside down, because we start with her most recent work here, which is the work on the Ursonate by Kurt Schwitters, and then we move on to her other previous endeavors, like Anton Bruckner, and so on and so forth. I also would like to say that
Derry John
Meisel has kindly agreed, hello again, has kindly agreed to talk, speak, shout the first movement of the Ursonate again. So here's Jack Ox, and I think it's going to be very well worth listening closely. Thanks, Jack.
We're really... I'm going to be playing you little pieces of... I'm going to be playing pieces of music from most of the paintings that I've worked from, and I would like to second Dietrich von Frank's introduction and welcome to Derry John Meisel, who was kind enough to come and recite from the painting tonight because Kurt Schwitters couldn't be here. So he asked me to ask his favorite performer to come and do it instead. I began my work in the middle 70s. I was going to school at a very conceptual department at UC San Diego, and all of my professors were working from all kinds of different systems and bringing it into art. It opened up a whole world for me. And I decided that I wanted to translate compositions that were composed in a musical language into a visual language. And so I began at the beginning with Gregorian chant. I can't show you any of those paintings here today, but I can show you the second phase. We're going to start with Johann Sebastian Bach, Ein fester Böck ist unser Gott. We're going to walk back there. I think we should stroll down to the other end if you don't mind. remaining work that I have left from and it is the very, very beginning of my musical investigation, and so certain parts of the system are not as well developed, but I think I can give you an understanding of how my idea of translating from a non-verbal language, from an oral language, into a also non-verbal language, but a visual language, has developed. There are certain principles which I have started with and I still use. One of them is I use figurative images always in order to interpret the music. And I cut these images into strips, and a certain amount of space will equal a certain amount of time. Obviously, when I decide, well, 2 inches is a quarter note, which lasts a certain amount of time, that is a decision which I make, which is quite arbitrary. But from there on, all of the decisions are within the system, and so you can actually see the music unfold. I believe that I've been working like this for all these years just so that I can understand the music I'm working with. I'm a visual person, and it makes it much easier. So, with the images that I've used have always come from either landscape images and or architecture, because I could find in the landscapes lines which seem to imitate the melodies or which would relate poetically to it. And the same thing goes for the architecture. Architecture utilizes arithmetic. It has proportions. It has geometry. These things relate very, very strongly to music. In the case of the Bruckner, I noticed early on that he was using the number 3 a lot. Obviously, it fit into Christian symbology, the Trinity, and so forth. Many times he would compose works, and he would have 18 measures, divisible by 3, which was slightly unusual. In this particular work, you notice that it is a tetrahedron. It is not a pyramid. It has 3 triangles, the number 3 repeated throughout. And I noticed also from Bach's work that the melodies that he composed through the patterns of ascension and descension were forming triangular patterns. This was the very beginning of my musical education. So this painting uses a Baroque building, and it is fractured to the melody lines of the music. And then there is a glazing system which is applied over it, which takes other lines into consideration. The glazing system is something which has changed a great deal during the development of my work. The fracturing of the melody lines has remained pretty much the same. And when you have a little more time, you can walk around this whole piece and see that it's actually quite sculptural. I'm not going to play the music for this because I don't know exactly where it is. I didn't make drawings back in 1979, and I really, it's too long ago. But we're going to, you can also see some, well, there's no, these are from the opposite, from the Bruckner. So the next paintings that I worked with were from Symphony and 3 Movements by Stravinsky. And there are 2 paintings. The second painting from Symphony and 3 Movements is all the way down that wall. And the third painting is here. But actually, when I put on the music, we're going to hear this one first. I wanted to express Western language of harmony through the glaze. And a glaze is a very transparent paint which is superimposed over the other paint. When I was learning music, I studied harpsichord for 6 years, and I had to learn how to tune the harpsichord. And so in tuning a harpsichord, I began to understand that dissonance and consonance were absolutely important concepts in Western music, and I began to understand what they were. They're 2 opposites, and they have shades of gray in between. So if you have dissonance here and consonance here, then you have less dissonance, more consonant, more consonant. And it operates in Western music in the following way. Up until the 20th century, when a composer would have a dissonance, he would resolve it into a consonance. The dissonance was considered a point of tension. The consonance was a point of relaxation. Stravinsky turned it all around. And he made his dissonances the points which were very pure and very clear in the music, and he didn't resolve them into consonants. So with Stravinsky, the more dissonant something is, the purer the hue. This is a very dissonant painting. It's a diminished seventh chord, which is a very dissonant chord, and therefore it is a bright, clear glaze. The painting down at the far end of this wall is in fact a transitional painting. It employs many, many consonances, and therefore these colors have a certain amount of complementary color over the base colors. And so I then worked out a system where in Bruckner, the bright glazes on this painting are going to be a pure color. And the when you see a complementary color being glazed in, such as here, this is grayed out a certain amount. This is the grayest part. And then it goes into a very bright yellow, which is very consonant. But this is the dissonant part resolving into a consonance. The imagery for the Stravinsky paintings have come from New York City buildings, classical revival, very similar to the Symphony in Three Movements, which is a classical revival symphony. It incorporates the same kinds of rhythmic structures as the music, and it mathematically equates. So I think what we should do is begin to strip was upended here because I had to articulate between those two notes that were the same. And Stravinsky also utilized, when he was composing this piece of music, octatonic scales. That means the scale goes whole step, half step, whole step, half step. Normal scales like major and minor, there would be whole steps except for half steps between scale numbers 3 and 4 and 7 and 8. So that's quite a departure. This painting, however, utilizes all 3 octatonic scales. And I'm sorry I couldn't find the photographs of the images, but it is the same New York City building painted from 3 different perspectives. That's to represent all 3 octatonic scales. So this one we're going to hear after that one, but it's like the same note going da 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 da, and against that there are other lines moving which are represented by the glazes, because the glazes get lighter and darker for melodies and so forth. But I wanted to articulate between that same note going across, so I alternated image or perspective A, perspective B, perspective C. And there's one other way you can see these changes. I painted each of these perspectives in a different color. So the pinks go together into one perspective, the kind of gold-yellow strips go into another, and the blue go into another. And you can begin to see that in your mind, I think, when it's explained. So we're going to put the on. Let me get my score so I don't miss this one. Okay, now this would be the first painting, but we don't have it here, so we'll have to wait now for the third painting. Years. And I made a very special color wheel for the WC. You have a few of the drawings here, and actually this drawing right here relates to that section in the middle. And I think this drawing kind of comes right before it. Most of the drawings have been sold through the years, and I pulled out what I had available. This is a very special WC color harmony wheel. WC modulates. I should explain to you a little bit, for those of you who don't know much about music, what a circle of fifths is, because it's pretty important. A circle of fifths is a circular organization of keys, which counts by fifths. Keys. So you start with C. C has no sharps and no flats. And the next key closely related to it on the right is G. And it has one sharp. And on the left is F, and it has one flat. Then it goes 2 sharps, 2 flats, 3 sharps, 3 flats, until the key which is directly opposite on the wheel is totally opposite from that first key. And WC, instead, they call it fifths because from C to G, you go C, D, E, F, G. It incorporates 5 notes. Debussy, instead of going from C to G, he would go through what we call the mediant, C to E to G. Now, E is quite a ways around the wheel, so he was really going to a key which was quite far away on the wheel, but he made it work in a very linear fashion. So I made a special wheel which counted through the median. I'm not sure I would do that today. I think I might use my other wheel, but this was part of my development in the colors. So the glazing colors come from whatever key he's using, and it moves very smoothly because it goes through the mediant. The images for this particular piece of music, this is from nuage, which means it's one of the nocturnes, and that means clouds. So obviously I used clouds. And what I find interesting when I'm doing this work is that certain concepts in musical language go very directly to a visual language. But then there are other concepts which are more difficult to translate. Now, the Debussy begins with what we call a very open interval, a fifth. He goes a fifth, a third, a closed interval, a fifth, a third. So he has one line moving against another. It's like da 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 da, and the other line's going da 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 da. How could I make that concept clear? I decided to use clouds which were very, very far away for the fifth, and clouds which were quite close, like outside of an airplane window, for the third. And I would alternate between these two images. Now, this painting starts off that way, but we have a bit of that here. So this is far away, this is close, far away, close. And you'll hear it in the beginning, and then you'll see in this is the most complicated section of the Debussy piece. There's also a beautiful little melody based on a tritone. A tritone is a dissonant, it's like a diminished fifth. So instead of being very consonant, it's very dissonant. So this will go da 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 da. That melody you're going to hear throughout. and you will see it and hear it in this section. So let's put on the Debussy, and I need to carry the other pictures with me so I can make sure I know where we are. So that. To the subject of Anton Bruckner's Eighth Symphony. And that's where I really developed the use of the color wheel and images. So I painted all of the themes not the entire symphony, because it would have been about 3 miles long if I'd done the entire symphony. As it was, it took me 10 years to do 12 paintings. This painting that we have here is from the last movement, and it is a little counterpoint thing. I spent a lot of time at St. Florian's Monastery in Linz, Austria. Bruckner was born near there in Unterfelden. He went to school there. He was the master of the organ. In fact, he loves it so much, he's still there. He's buried under the organ. And I felt that it was very important to use this particular building for the following reason. Anton Bruckner combines Baroque counterpoint with romantic chromatic harmony of the 19th century. He was a master on the organ, and so he really knew how to do incredible counterpoint. And also, most 19th century Austrians were pretty much spoon-fed Baroque music, and they lived and worshipped in Baroque architecture. So I felt that I would use St. Florian's, which is a beautiful Baroque monastery, in order to express the counterpoint of Bruckner's music. Then I went to the Alps and I took photographs of very romantic landscape images. And that was the visualization for me of the romantic chromatic harmony. This particular painting only has St. Florian's in it, because and therefore the painting after it was all landscape. So this was a little bit unusual. But I found that the monastery opened itself up to me in a way that it seemed as each movement was expressed by the architecture in different places. So the first movement took place on the outside wall of the monastery and the outside of the church. And you can see the drawing from the second theme of the first movement on this wall. Actually, that's a 10-chord multiple. And so you can see the music is actually 2 sheets of music, this one and then this one. And the church, it utilizes the very top of the church for the first part of the music and the very bottom for the second. And the second movement, which is the scherzo, took place inside the courtyard where these beautiful stairs, which were made by Jakob Pontauer, are, and they have sort of these diagonal lines in them, which very much interpret the musical lines of the scherzo. So the scherzo has a fast section, and then it has a trio, and then it repeats the fast section. So what I did was I used the stairs for the first part of the fast section. Then I used for the trio the inside of the stairs. And this is a drawing from half of that. It's actually inside those stairs looking up. And then I did another view of the Pontauer stairs for the repeat when I did the last 20 measures. First 24 measures for the beginning. Also, there's something else which becomes apparent here and also in the painting. I started to paint dynamics, loudness and softness. And as the music gets louder, the images have a larger scale. When the music is softer, the images are much smaller scale. And that's carried forth into the Schwitters in the front room. So this is a very, very, very short part out of the Adagio takes place inside the church, and then the finale takes place outside and inside of the Marble Hall at St. Florian's. And this is a little counterpoint theme, which will go by in about 5 seconds. It took me longer than that to paint it, though, unfortunately. And you will see the upper line. This is inside the Marble Hall. So the upper line, the images are fracturing to the music, up and down. Then the middle line of this little counterpoint section is these gray strips in the middle. And the bass line, the counterpoint against it, is here. So in actual fact, the room is like squishing together and pulling apart to the counterpoint. And you can see that it's a very consonant theme too. But you can see the dissonances here, where you have all of these sort of grays coming in. You can see the complementary color, which has been painted in an extra layer over the original glaze. Do you want to put on the tape now? This is really going to go fast. Please don't be shy. It's a slow theme, and it goes fast. That's it. 6 months of work. Now, I want to give you a little bit of introduction to the system that went into the Ur Sonata. So we're going to walk up to the front, and then we're going to have this really incredible rendition done by Derry John to the painting. For the Ur Sonata, I wanted to continue with my idea of landscape and architecture. So, what architecture would one use for Schwitters? The obvious answer is he invented installation art with the Meeresbouwen, and I made a drawing, which is over here on this wall, of his Hanover Meeresbouwen, which only exists today by photographs which were shot, because unfortunately he was gone during World War II, completely gone. It was in Hanover in his house. And so there's also, Peter Bissiker has made, he's made a recreation of it. He did computer analysis with the same photographs I worked on, and you can see that at the Sprengel Museum. There's also a traveling one which goes with the Schwitters retrospective. But I worked from those photographs. I didn't use a computer. I had to turn all the perspectives in my brain and put these three perspectives together. And I actually opened up the room too. In reality, this would come more like so, but you wouldn't be able to see all these details. But here it is. This is the first theme for the Ur Sonata, and it goes Fums vivutet seu pagekvie. Now, the Ur Sonata is nonsense. It's written in nonsense, but it's very much in German. And it uses German vowel sounds, it uses German consonants, it follows all the rules of German. I also used landscapes. For instance, this is mostly from the Largo, but that's all the way up here. And that landscape I chose because, to me, it looks like that theme sounds. Well, that's stuff in here, but I don't have the big. There's a catalog around here somewhere, but it's a mountain scene from Norway. The landscapes came from Schwitter's exile. He lived in Norway, and then he was in the Lake District in England. So the first part of it tends to have Norwegian landscapes, and they were specific places where he was. I went there, I researched it, I photographed them, I made drawings, then I made prints, and these get fractured to all of these little themes. Each syllable is given a particular place in that image. So every time you hear that syllable, you see that particular part of the image. You'll also notice there are a lot of scale changes. And this is, for instance, you can watch this woman's face. There was another Meeresbouw in Norway. He lived off of Molde on a little island in the Vesterlande up there near the fjords. And he collaged all the walls of his hut. So I took photographs of that and made a drawing of all of his collages, and that's my alphabet theme. That's one of his themes. Schwitters recites the alphabet in German backwards 4 times at the end of the 4th movement. But he also, every time he has an alphabet, just like a letter U, that's the letter U, and it's in the middle of another theme like fums, bibitet, set, ooh, you're going to see the alphabet theme. And so, yes. Now, there is no harmony in the Ur Sonata. It is one voice singing one line. So I felt that the pauses, the silences, were incredibly important in this particular piece, and I wanted to make them very loud indeed. So all of these solid colors are in fact silences. I chose these very bright cadmium colors. I decided to underline, to double the meaning of, you can see how long they are. That means they're long. If they're short, they're short. But I doubled the meaning by making a deeper red for the longer pause. And this little yellow here, that's just a very short breath. You can hardly hear it. And then there's a glazing system which can't be based on harmony because there isn't any harmony. So I decided to do, I had to learn phonetics to do this piece. And all of the glazes change with the German vowel chart. There are 16 vowel sounds in the German language. And I worked out a system where unrounded vowels came from warm colors, rounded vowels came from cool colors. And as the tongue moves down in your mouth, I would move down that list, being warm or cool. And as the vowel is produced in the front of the mouth, it's going to be a pure color. When you move a little bit behind, that would be like E or A. This is a pure color. This is A. That's a pure color. But then you go behind the lips, say I. That's I. This is right behind the teeth, and it has 10% complementary color. And actually, this relates very much to the Bruckner system, where dissonance was related by complementary colors, consonance was related by pure hue, and all the shades in between would be done by 40% complementary, 30% complementary, 10% complementary. So your eye can actually see if it's dissonant or consonant. Well, here you can see if it's made in the front of the mouth or the back. This is a schwa. It's and it's got about a 30% complementary color. That O is made in the very back of the mouth, and that's a green, but it has 50% red painted over it, so it's a very gray color. So you can read where the vowels are made, how they're made by the color. There's two collage systems here. One of them has to do with the melodies, like if there's a glissando. Where is the glissando? Up there. Fums bibitet set u kagif kvi a. The A goes down up here, right before that deep red panel. And that's the melody going down. But the other system has to do with the consonants. So this is an R. It has every other strip upended. But the R's in this section over here on this wall, coming from the fourth theme, where it goes and so forth, I painted this image forwards and backwards. And I alternated between forward, backward, forward, backward, forward, backward. And that's how the R's are done here. Then for fricatives, now a fricative is where you make your passage smaller, like F, S, and Z. They're either voiced or they're unvoiced. But you can read the fricatives. These little inserts, this is an F, this is a S, this is close, for instance, coming from the beginning of that Merzbow image. This is the F. The center part is an M. It's a sonorant. It doesn't have anything happen to it. It's almost a vowel, but not quite. And this is a Z. It's going the other way. So this whole thing has a glaze that goes So the glaze is doing the vowel, and this is F, M, S. So fums. And then this is B. The left quarter is cut on a vertical and upended. And this is V. It has another fricative. And this is fums bibitet, T is cut in the middle, horizontally and upended. This is TS, set, U, and this is P. The cut is up here and upended, and so forth. So every little syllable has been, in fact, done. This is C-U, N-set, C-U, Nskermu. Inskermu, rocket to bay, bay, and so forth. You can also notice the scale changing if you're really onto it, but I think that's about all that will explain this piece. So I think we should let Derry John perform it for you, Derry John Mizell, starting over there, goes left to right, do, 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 then up onto this wall, and then here. This is just the first movement. The other three movements are this size again. So the entire piece is like 800 square feet on the wall. So we have to... I think
Let me
if
get
you
some out here.
stand here, he'll be starting to read from there. He has to look at the painting and then kind of follow him as he goes around. Does that sound good?
Do you have it? Can you hear me?
Can you hear me? That's that who forgive it'll be sometimes it'll be quite loud.
Oh, that's not loud.
No, that wasn't loud. Very loud. Like
Oh, okay. Where is that? Okay. Where do you start?
I'll start down here, but I'm going to be addressing this whole area because I can't reach back and forth so much. This is, let me just say before I begin, there's something a little bit experimental in this, in that I've never, ever performed this piece from Jack's art before. So it'll be an interesting experience. Normally I use a printed score that Schwitter's wrote, and parts of it have been memorized, and parts of it I performed with a dance. Some of you may have seen the dance a couple weeks ago when we opened the show. But I'll literally be looking at the painting and using it as a score as I perform. So it'll be important for you to not be in my way when I'm looking at the painting, at least as I move around. Probably by the time I get to the end here,
So you should all come here.
you can come over in this area. Normally I perform this facing an audience, so this is a little bit unusual for me because I'm going to be after facing the art. I take a very, what you might call a 90s approach to the performance of this piece. It's sort of like performance art more than a classical sonata. Some of you may see Chris Butterfield perform with the Bill T. Jones Company. A friend of mine, he's very classical oriented. Mine is much more theatrical. But like any sonata, classical sonata or romantic sonata, it's open to a lot of different kinds of interpretation. And I think Schwitter's would be pleased with that range of different approaches that people use. So this is the Sonata in Urlaub. Rocket the baby, rocket your toe. See what's at your canoe. See what's at your canoe. Rocket the baby, rocket the baby. Fins baby, that's a ooh, te. Fins. Rocket the rinse guitar, 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 rocket the rinse guitar. Baby, fins baby, fins baby, right there. Fins baby, right there. Films, but that's how, ooh, yeah. This is the real rock the baby.
Jack Ox and Derry John myself for this really most remarkable, little on the audience side understaffed performance. If one thinks about it, there was the Ursonate done by Paul Schwitters, which was transformed into painting by Jack Ox, and now the performance is being done and read again from a painted, quote-unquote, score. Really music for the dead. Jack Ox and Derek John myself. Thank you very much.
I haven't been working, and so I was